Friends, I welcome you to my channel. Before listening to this story, I will ask you to like and subscribe. It is not difficult for you, but it is pleasant for me. And we're starting. All the characters in the story are over 18 years old. I was downstairs in the basement trying to clean the drain in the air conditioner when I heard the phone ring. Natalie was washing dishes in the kitchen, so I thought she'd pick up the phone. I heard her lift it through the air vent on the second floor. Hello, Katie, it's good to hear from you. How long has it been? I didn't like Katie. She's been Natalie's friend since high school, and I've always had bad feelings for her. Fortunately, we moved from Lancaster shortly after we got married. I wish it was a little further away. Yes, I thought so. 8 years really passed quickly. What's happening? I didn't like the way this conversation was developing, but I only had one side of the conversation. Katie, wait a second. Steve works downstairs in the basement. Let me go and close the door. I'll be right back. I heard Natalie put down the phone as she walked across the room to close the door. I crossed the basement and quickly picked up the wall-mounted extension phone. Hi, Katie. I'm back. So, what were you going to tell me? Nat, there's a medical equipment conference at the Lancaster Holiday Inn next weekend, and guess who's coming? You're kidding. Will they both be there? Both of them. They will arrive on Friday evening and stay all weekend. How do you know that? Jared called me this morning and was dying to see you. He asked me to call and see if I could persuade you to come to Lancaster for the weekend. It's just you, me, Jared, and Martin. I was holding a rag on the end of the handset. I really wanted to jump over the phone and grab Katie by the neck. What the hell was she suggesting? I do not know, Katie. If I can leave, I'd love to come. I'm going to have to pet Steve a little bit. As soon as I find out, I'll call you back. You remember how good we had at the last convention when they were here, don't you, Natalie? You're damn right, I remember. Every time I cook breakfast for the kids in the morning. I can't believe you had the nerve to call that kid Jared. Why not? Steve has no idea. He thinks Jared belongs to him, even though they don't look alike at all. Damn, this conversation was getting worse as it went on. I quickly went over everything in my head and found out that Natalie and Katie had an affair with these two guys 8 years ago. And eventually Natalie got pregnant with Jared. She married the child to mine and, of course, never said anything about this affair. Now Natalie and Katie were planning to meet these guys again. Katie, I'll call you back as soon as I can. If I can't leave for the night, at least I can get there for the day. That would be better than nothing. Good. Call me as soon as you find out. After we all hung up, I had a little time to think. We had 3 children. Jenny and Lynn were in high school, and Jared showed up about 8 years ago. The 2 girls are pretty and smart. They study hard at school and both are preparing for college. Jared, on the other hand, is uninspired. He is not interested in studying or sports. I like Jared, even with his flaws. Natalie opened the basement door. How are you doing there, Steve? Are you ready for coffee? I'm almost done. I'll be right up. I think I'm going to take a shower before doing anything else. After a long hot shower, I sat down in front of the TV with my family. I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. It wasn't a small mistake that Natalie made and regretted. It was something she had done intentionally and planned to do again. I didn't know if I wanted to stop this and maintain the status quo, or if I wanted to fix it. If I decided to fix it, I had to figure out how. I felt really stupid, because in 20 years of marriage, it never even occurred to me that Natalie could be hanging out with someone. Steve, I talked to Kathy from Lancaster today. She asked me to come and spend the weekend with her. Do you have any problems with that? No, not really. I'll be busy at work, so as long as my parents can look after the kids, everything should be fine, on one condition. What is it? Be sure to take your mobile phone in case you have any problems. Okay. Thank you, dear. I'll take my cell phone with me and I promise I won't have any problems. The Volvo station wagon doesn't break down, and I can take a lot of goodies in it for shopping. I will probably leave on Friday morning and return on Sunday evening. Is this normal? I think it sounds tempting. Have fun. Natalie went into the kitchen and I overheard her calling Katie to confirm their weekend plans. She didn't seem at all bothered by the fact that she was cheating or that there might be consequences. I told her that I wanted to do some computer work before going to bed and that I would get up later. It wasn't too hard to find the website of the East Coast Medical Equipment Dealers Conference in Lancaster. Everything related to the conference was there. All displays were listed with a floor map. They had a list of lectures and seminars with time and locations. They had a list of all the participants, which included their hotel room numbers. Jared Kramer and Martin Blank lived in room 411 from Friday to Monday. I found the home addresses and phone numbers of both of them in Baltimore. I found a company that offered DNA tests by mail. The tests ranged from confirming paternity to probable national origin. The cost of most tests was less than $100. Samples could be taken at home and mailed along with a receipt or paid online. I filled out the application forms on the website and paid for 4 paternity tests using my PayPal. After printing out the collection instructions, I gathered everything I needed to get the samples. I printed the postage label and prepared a soft envelope for priority shipment. I have prepared several CD mailings and prepared a stack of blank CDs. Jared and Martin's wives will probably want a copy of the evening's events. I worked for a corporate security consulting firm. My work schedule was flexible, but since I had some free time, I just decided to take a week off. Another nice advantage of the job was the availability of various equipment that I could use to collect information. By that time, I had almost decided that the marriage was over. The fact that she had an affair 8 years ago and forced me to raise a child was bad, but the way she and Katie joked about making a fool of me was too much. I couldn't forgive it in any way. Now she was doing it again. That should have ended it forever. The next day, I collected DNA samples from the children. They thought it was cool. Then I went to the bank and transferred almost all my savings to the college trust fund for Jenny and Lynn, but I left $12,000 in cash. I was able to set this up so that the trust was safe from my wife or from a nosy divorce lawyer. I took steps to cancel all credit cards and current account on Monday morning and opened a new account in my name only. I was going to lock up the house so that Natalie would have to find another place to sleep. I was sure that she would be able to find some legitimate way to get into the house, but I hoped that by then I would have settled some other matters. We could decide about our son, Jared, later. Although he wasn't mine, I felt some responsibility for him. I stopped by Seymour Schlamp's office. Seymour has been my lawyer since we arrived in Reading. He was fair and hardworking. I liked him. I explained the situation to him as best I could. He pressed me to make sure that we had no chance of reconciliation. In addition to the divorce proceedings, I asked him to contact Jared Kramer and see if there was anything he could do with his son. I suggested that he pay $500 in monthly child support, retroactive, or force him to take the child and raise him. The last option for him was to give up all rights to Jared so that I could arrange for his adoption. I was sure he would agree to the latter. Seymour had everything he needed. I promised to send him photos and audio recordings that he could use. He gave me an email address at the office and several pre-addressed mailings for paper materials. Betty Moore was the most obnoxious real estate agent I've ever met. There was very little about women that I liked, but she was a hard-working, dedicated worker. I gave her a list of our house and signed several power of attorney for her. I told her that she would have to get all the signatures from Natalie herself that she would need. She laughed and assured me that there would be no problems. I told her that the locksmith would give her a set of new keys. A wireless video camera disguised as a smoke detector was best suited for this job. I picked up 2 of them and captured $4. I also needed a clipboard, a set of company logo stickers, and 3 laptops. I made an order for the replacement of a faulty smoke detector in room 411 on the company's letterhead. I would put the computers and all the recording equipment in a regular suitcase. I took a small stepladder. Room 311 was available at the Holiday Inn, and I booked it under a different name, only for Friday. There was wireless internet access. Walmart had the best deal on disposable cell phones. I took 2 of them, just in case. My mom and dad moved into an old farmhouse near Lebanon a few years ago. It was too big for the 2 of them, but it was always Dad's dream. He had a large vegetable garden, chickens, and an orchard. Jared loved going there. They were more than willing to put up with us for as long as it took. My dad liked Jared, but he called him Jake. He said Jared sounded like a sandwich seller. Jared seemed to like the name Jake more than his real name. A few years ago, Dad bought a big house on wheels and a small Kia to carry it with him. He used it 3 times and lost interest. I told Dad to fill up the mobile home and get it ready. I knew that the girls would be outraged that they were leaving their friends for the summer. They had 1 more year of high school left before college, and they wanted to finish it at a preparatory school in Vermont. Natalie didn't want to spend the money. Although they had a year's age difference, they were in the same class. Don't ask. I had no idea how Jared would take it. I'll deal with the situation at school later. I had other problems now. At least all the kids enjoyed being with my mom and dad. Natalie left early the next morning. She was in tears and thanked me once again for letting her spend time with friends. I told the children to pack up for a trip and take enough things with them for the whole summer. As I suspected, the girls were delighted. I told them to get pamphlets from Burlington Prep School, and suddenly everything was rosy. They took all their school clothes with them just in case. Surprisingly, Jared seems delighted with the trip. Jenny came up to me and just stood there. "What do you want, Jenny? Have you packed everything?" "Dad, I'm 17. I'm not a kid anymore. Tell me what's going on." "I'm not sure I understand what you mean. Do you have a problem with your mom?" "I don't think that's what I want to discuss with you. If something was going on, your mom and I would try to hide it from you. Why don't you pack the rest of your stuff?" "No, Dad. I'm serious. This time it looks different. Lynn and I want to know what's going on. We think we have a right to know." I didn't want to tell her anything about it, but I knew sooner or later it would come out. "Okay, at the moment I'm not very happy with the relationship between your mother and me. Things are not going well for us. I do not know for sure what exactly is wrong, but I know that something is wrong. Is Mom cheating on you?" I was silent for a long time. "I'm not sure, but I think so." Jenny turned around and screamed up the stairs. "You were right, Lynn. What does it all mean?" "I'd rather let Lynn tell you." Lynn was coming down the stairs to meet Jenny and me. "Tell him, Lynn." "Should I do that?" "Yes. He knows, but you have to tell him anyway." Lynn looked down at her feet. Finally, she spoke. "About 4 months ago, I skipped school with one of the guys from my lab class. We stopped by the house so I could buy some CDs. It was Wednesday, when Mom usually goes shopping. I think you were at work in Boston. As we were walking down the street, we saw a gold SUV pull up to the driveway. That guy, Floyd, who works with you, came out, and Mom let him in the house. We sat outside for almost 2 hours until he came out. I waited another 10 minutes and went into the house. Mom was taking a shower, and the bed in your room was in a mess. I left and returned to school before the end of the day. When we got home, she cooked dinner. The bed was made, and there was a stack of sheets in the dryer. I told Jenny, but she didn't believe me. No one said anything for 30 seconds. "Thanks for telling me, girls. This is something I never wanted to hear, but it's good that you told me." Jenny noticed a tear in my eyes. She grabbed Lynn's hand, and they went upstairs without saying another word. Dad showed up just as the locksmith arrived. While the locks were being changed, I threw all of Natalie's clothes, shoes, and personal belongings into 150-liter trash bags. The bags almost completely filled the back of my car. After discussing with the girls, I decided to stay at work before going to the conference. Centerex was a company that was founded locally but quickly spread across the country. Their marketing specialists did an excellent job of finding potential areas for expansion, but the company couldn't train people fast enough to manage them, especially in the field of management. They tried to persuade me to move to a new office and offered me several different places, trying to interest me. Natalie refused to move and didn't even want to discuss it. If I had stayed where I was, I would have stayed in the same position forever. Moving would have given me a promotion, more money, and a bit of power. I went straight to the office of the president of the company. "Can Mr. Turkett give me a few minutes? I think he can squeeze you into the schedule." "Wait a minute. I've always liked Turcott's secretary, and I think she felt the same way about me." George Turkett came out of his office and held out his hand to me. "I hope you're here to tell me the good news, Steve." "Well, yes and no. Helen, bring coffee to the office and hold off on my calls for a while." "Okay, what can I do for you, Steve?" "First of all, I decided that I would like to be reviewed for one of the new senior positions at the facility where, in your opinion, I would be most useful." "This is great news. If you don't have a preference, of course I have a great place that I would like you to take. How would you feel about Anchorage?" "Believe it or not, it sounds perfect. Are you satisfied with the first week of September?" "I think it will work. I will personally take care of all this on Monday." "What's the second thing?" "Well, I know it sounds weird, but I would like Floyd Cooper to be sent there to work for me." George leaned back in his chair and started giggling. "You found out, didn't you?" "I don't understand what you mean, George." I couldn't keep a straight face when I said that. Steve, no one wanted to tell you anything. I didn't like what was happening, but I didn't know what to do about it. If I fired Floyd, I was afraid you'd find out, and I didn't want that to happen. I decided it was best to try to keep it a secret. Unfortunately, Floyd Cooper has a long tongue. He started bragging about his affair with your wife. His secretary Tracy came to me and complained when Floyd started showing everyone the photos of him and your wife that he uploaded to his computer. The legal department is working on something right now, but I've been keeping them on a tight leash trying to protect you. Now that you know, I can just fire Floyd. It's a hell of a lot more practical than spending money sending him to Alaska so you can fire him there. You're right. I was hoping I could do a little more damage, but I guess revenge is a pretty bad management method. I'll agree with whatever you think is fair. George pressed the intercom button. Helen, put me through to Tracy Tolliver. After explaining to Tracy what we were doing, we went down to Floyd's office. Floyd was at work in Allentown. Tracy Tolliver was a very attractive woman. She was in her early 30s and aging very well. The combination of brown hair and blue eyes has always fascinated me. She was only a few centimeters taller than 150 centimeters, but she carried herself like an Amazon. I never understood how Floyd ended up with the best secretary in the whole building. Later, I found out that she had asked to be transferred to my office 3 times, but my secretary did not hand over her position. You're going to need this. She held out 4 blank CDs. Look in the pending invoices section and click on Stoddard. Make one for yourself, one for your lawyer, one for our legal department, and one for Floyd's wife. I have the mailing lists ready, but I need the name of your lawyer. I was stunned by her promptness. This woman knew what she was doing and exactly how to do it. Seymour Schlamp. His office is located on Franklin Street. George and I went into Floyd's office while Tracy was typing in the last address. There were 20 pictures of Floyd and Natalie making love. They were of poor quality and looked like they had been taken from a webcam. It also meant that Floyd probably had a full-length video somewhere. They weren't taken in our bedroom. I was a little upset because every guy in the building probably saw what I was looking at right now. After checking them all, I just copied the file to each of the blank CDs. Tracy poked her head into the room. Delete the whole damn file when you're done copying this stuff. I gave Tracy 4 discs. She put each of them in an envelope and returned one to me. Don't let your kids get it. I will send these 3 on Monday morning. I told George about my plans at the Holiday Inn. He didn't like that the company intervened, but he agreed with it. There was a work crew in the area on Monday, and he said he would ask them to stop by and take down the cameras that I was going to install. George and I shook hands. I thanked him, and he thanked me. I think it was a good meeting. The trip from Reading to Lancaster took about an hour. I parked in the backyard, checked in, paid in cash, and got the keys. The first thing I did was change into my work clothes. The maid on the 4th floor was friendly enough. I showed her my work assignment, and since no one had checked into the room yet, she let me in. It took only about 20 minutes to install the fake smoke detectors. There were 2 king-size beds in the room. I was able to position the cameras so that I could get a good shot of every bed in part of the room. Don't worry, I was a professional. I hoped that none of the residents would notice that they were in a room with 3 smoke detectors. I went back into the room, changed my clothes, and started installing all my equipment. The pizza delivery guy arrived there about half an hour later. By 3 o'clock, everything was ready. Both cameras worked perfectly. The pictures were clear even in normal room lighting. My laptop was turned on and running with a good high-speed connection. I had one camera set up to record every movement, and I started the other manually. Damn it, I loved my job. I had one problem: I didn't know where Natalie was. I dialed her number on her cell phone. Hi, Steve. Isn't it a great caller ID? Hi, Natalie. I'm just checking to see if everything's okay. The kids are with my parents, and I'm still at work. Where are you now? We're still at Katie's. Her husband, Ray, is going to look after their children. Katie and I are going to spend the night at Melanie Thompson's house. There will be a couple of other girls from school there. It should be cool. It sounds funny. Take some pictures. There's a pervert in your dreams. Who is this guy Ray that Katie is with? Do I know him? I think so. This is Ray Wilson. He was on the football team with you. Yes, that's right. I remember Ray. What does he look like? A little heavier, a little balder, and a little softer. To me, it sounds like normal aging. All right. Natalie. I'll let you go. Have fun and call if you have any problems. Love you. I love you back. While I really remembered that Ray was a big bastard and also nasty. If they were going to leave, it meant that they would be here soon. I decided that they would use Natalie's car, which would be fine with me. Around this time, some activity began in the room. Camera number 1 started recording exactly as it was set up. There was a lot of empty chatter about the trip and other small things. They were both pretty big guys. Jared had dark hair and dark eyes, while Martin was slightly bald and looked pale. Both seemed to be in good shape. The bug detected Jared's cell phone ringing. "Hi, this is a stud farm. What can I do for you?" They both enjoyed it immensely. I was wondering how many times they had used this before. "We're here, honey, and we can't wait to chat. What do you like?" I assumed he was talking to Katie. "Good. This is the hinterland. We'll meet you downstairs in about 2 minutes." At least they were going to feed them first. I was sitting there fuming about it all. If I wasn't so passionate about the mechanics of what I was doing, I'd probably be preparing to trample on someone. I immediately left the room and headed for the stairs at the end of the corridor. Standing around the corner of the building, I could see Natalie and Katie waiting in the lobby. They were giggling like a couple of schoolgirls. A minute later, Jared and Martin got out of the elevator. Natalie immediately took Jared's hand and kissed him on the cheek, as a wife kisses her husband. The four of them got out and got into a black Mercedes. When they drove off, I looked around the parking lot and found a Volvo parked in the back row. At least she was trying to act a little restrained. About 5 minutes later, I was loading garbage bags with her clothes and other things into the salon. I was sure that she would return from the restaurant slightly tipsy and would not notice anything in the car. I left a note on the driver's seat explaining that the locks had been changed in the house and that I was taking the children on a long vacation. I went to Taco Bell and refreshed my body for the rest of the night. They eat the ribs, and I take the top-quality burritos. Life is just not fair. I went back to my room and waited for the inevitable. I was trying to think of a few more things I could do. I had about an hour until they returned to the room. I knew what would happen when they arrived. What I didn't know was exactly what I was going to do. Well, I pretty much came to the conclusion that they weren't here to play canasta. I knew what was going to happen the rest of the evening, and I didn't like it. I thought Natalie and I had a good life. I assumed she was happy because she never complained or showed any signs of being unhappy about anything. She fed me stuff when Jared was born. She said she was glad we had a boy, because every man should have a son. I wondered if she had called Jared's real father and congratulated him at the first opportunity. Damn, it was depressing to think about it. I regretted all the years I lived with this woman, who could cheat on me out of the blue and not feel guilty at all. A woman who could force me to raise another man's child and thought it was funny. It was hard to feel any compassion for her at that moment. I continued to cook everything. I was probably too prepared, but it was the only chance I had, and I didn't want to miss anything. They burst into the room, laughing and giggling. Martin brought a bottle of something with him, and in the first minute they filled 4 glasses. Katie pulled 2 pillows off the bed and threw them on the floor. Good. Let's get started. The winner gets the top 3. There was a burst of laughter at these words. How are we going to make love in threesomes when there are only 2 guys? I couldn't believe I was watching my wife make love. It was a competition that all 4 of them enjoyed to the fullest. I was not only angry, but also jealous. The cameras worked perfectly. It was almost as good as a regular movie. I'm getting close. Get ready for dessert. Jared shouted. Thank you very much, Martin. You could at least let me know that you're ready. Look at all the good things I've wasted. Everyone started laughing again. See, Katie, that's what friends are for, to share. At regular intervals, I managed to take several pictures using the zoom camera. I watched in fascination as my loving wife flopped down on one of the beds. Katie quickly followed her. Although they joked about having a threesome, it wasn't meant to happen yet. There was a break in room 411. Katie went to take a shower while Natalie was brushing her teeth. Jared and Martin were just relaxing with a couple of beers. I picked up a disposable phone and dialed Baltimore. Hello, Mrs. Kramer? This is Walter Perkins from the Lancaster Medical Equipment Conference. Are you Jared Kramer's wife? Yes, but he's not here right now. I know. Your husband and Mr. Blank received special recognition at the convention tonight. We would like to send you photos from the ceremony by email. Do you have an email account that we could send them to? Of course. This is ikramer@bbw.net. That's great. Do you happen to have the email address of Martin Blank's wife so that I can send the photos together? Of course. She's in blank@balt.com. Good. That's all I need. You will have the photos in a few minutes. Of course, she could track the transmissions over the hotel's wireless network, but I didn't care because there was no connection with me. They had a break in conversation in room 411 while they got their second wind. So, Natalie, is your dear husband taking good care of my son instead of me? Of course, silly. 8 years have passed, and this idiot still hasn't realized that the child isn't his. Steve lives in his own world. He wouldn't have been able to figure it out if a letter had arrived in the mail. It would be nice if you sent a birthday present or something from time to time. Oh yes, that would be cool. All he needs is to see something like this to give him a clue. Katie chimed in, damn it, I have 3 snotty kids running around my house, and my dummy is not the father of any of them. He's so busy sipping beer that he could never figure out they weren't his. Everyone laughed heartily at poor Ray, and I got a good sound clip. I got bored with all these activities and decided to postpone them for the night. I went to the website www.livesexscam.com and went into an unused room. After a few recordings, I got a live stream from room 411, which led to the internet site. I added a headline to the page. Natalie and Katie are dealing with Jared and Martin. My wife and her friend decided that the break was over and started to screw the guy's heart again. The internet broadcast was going well, and the number of viewers exceeded 100. It took me about 20 minutes to get everything ready to go out. I left the computer with the live broadcast for last. By that time, the show had been watched by over 400 perverts, and I'm sure several people recorded it for later distribution. I turned off the last installation and called Ray Wilson. Hey, Ray, are you sober? Yes. Who is it? Just a friend, Ray. I want you to listen to something. I played a short audio clip that I made with Katie. Where did you get this? Ray. She's in room 411 at the Holiday Inn. There are 2 guys there, and they're pretty big. So if you're planning on going, get a bat or something, otherwise they might beat the shit out of you. Ray didn't say another word, and I heard the phone go dead. I had just finished loading the navigator when Ray jumped out of a Ford pickup truck with a short aluminum bat and burst into the building. I'm tired, but I enjoyed the trip back. The mobile home was completely ready. I gave Dad a set of keys to the new house. Mom went to Lancaster to visit Natalie at her parents' house, while Dad took some guys to our house and took out all the furniture and stuff. They had enough space to store things in the barn. Mom thought it would be interesting to hear Natalie's version. My parents had the number of one of the phones they threw away. I keep my mobile phone, but I plan to keep it turned off most of the time. Dad will take the stuff back to Cinerex on Monday. It was too late to hit the road, but I wanted to be away when Natalie realized what was going on. We had a reserved van lot near Hagerstown, from where we could get on the highway well in the morning. The girls planned the trip for us. They did a pretty good job. The only thing I did was shorten the distance between stops, because gasoline was killing me. I was glad I took a lot of cash with me. We spent 3 days at Disney and were heading to Chattanooga to see the aquarium. Jenny asked if she could call her mom. Hi, Mom. This is Jenny. Yes. I just wanted to let you know that everything was fine. Yes. Yes. I know. We're all having a good time. Even Jared. We miss you too. We'll call you every couple of days to let you know. Good. We're going to Orlando tomorrow night. We'll be at Disney for almost a week. We have tickets to the park for every day. I couldn't believe it. My daughter framed her mother. How cool is that? We stayed at the Orleans Hotel right in Disneyland. It's going to be so great. Good. We'll call you in a couple of days. Wow. Jenny, I can't believe you did this. It was really disgusting. I know. Lynn and I thought it would be appropriate. Of course, you know that your mother is on the phone right now talking about a plane ticket and booking a room. That's what we thought she should do. She needs a vacation anyway, Lynn interjected. Jared watched the DVD and enjoyed his own company. 2 weeks later, Lynn called her mother. Natalie was very upset because she had been looking for us in Orlando for a week. Lynn said that we settled on Six Flags instead and tried to change the subject. Lynn and Jenny kept her on the phone for almost 20 minutes, listening to her rant. In the end, Jenny said she was sorry if she had misled her and would call her back in a couple of days. My demon girls giggled for another half hour after they hung up the phone. The next week was hectic. We parked at the Smoky Mountains, and the kids were busy while I was doing my chores. Seymour delivered the divorce papers to Natalie. She had no idea I was doing this until he arrived. He said she had a seizure. He explained that she could hire a lawyer to dispute the divorce and told her what she was facing. He had photos of her and Floyd, the group in room 411, and the results of the DNA analysis. Jenny and Lynn were mine, but not Jared. Natalie hired a lawyer, but eventually agreed to what Seymour suggested anyway. Seymour visited Big Jared at a hospital in Baltimore. Katie's husband did a great job on him and Martin. Ray was facing about 5 years in prison. I asked Seymour to help him. Both of my wife's lovers stayed in the hospital for more than a week, and while they were recovering, they were handed divorce papers. They had nowhere to go when they checked out. Jared signed a paper renouncing all rights to his son Jared. In addition to broken bones and ribs, Ray literally smashed the genital area with a bat. The doctors did not have much hope for recovery. Betty Moore has found a buyer for the house. She spent a lot of time convincing Natalie to sign all the papers, but eventually exhausted her. I didn't have to sign anything or attend the closing because of the power of attorney I signed. The summer was quickly coming to an end. I had a chance to establish a good relationship with the children. I spent a lot of time talking to Jared. He liked the farm where Mom and Dad lived. I asked him if he would like to stay on the farm full-time, and he jumped at it. Dad really liked having him around, and I knew he'd be happy to take him in. Seymour filed the adoption papers so that my parents would have the legal authority to provide for and take care of him. The only thing Seymour didn't like doing was forcing Natalie to agree to it. Natalie didn't know this, but Dad also officially changed Jared's name to Jake. The girls fell in love with the school in Burlington. The end of summer in Vermont was beautiful. We spent a few days getting them settled in, and then Jake and I headed back to Keystone State. I contacted Mr. Turkett and found out that everything was ready for my move to Alaska. Tracy was already on site and set up a temporary office. That was good news. She also had an apartment for me and a company car ready for my arrival. I left my dad's mobile home to get rid of it. 6 months later, everything finally settled down. The divorce was final. The girls did well in school, and both received scholarships to James Madison University in Virginia. They were happy and excited to be alone. They hadn't heard from Natalie, except for a few phone calls. Jake's academic performance was improving at school, and he was deeply passionate about his new hobby, chicken breeding. One day, Natalie came to visit him. She was driving an old Ford Escort and told Dad that she had to sell a Volvo to pay for the divorce costs. It was complete nonsense, because in the end I paid both lawyers. While she was there, Natalie insisted on calling Jake Jared. Jake corrected her every time and eventually left. Natalie continued to take it out on my father for how disgusting it was to take away a child's birthright. Dad said it was too easy a chance, so he turned it down and just left with Jake. Jake's mother never came to see him again. She received $11,000 from the sale of the house. He and Katie decided to celebrate the divorce and went to Las Vegas. All the money was gone in 4 days. I do not know what Natalie is doing now or where she lives. Maybe she moved to Baltimore. Needless to say, I love Alaska. End.